is to recognize that is, people everywhere in the world want peace.
Thank you for staying with us on TMI. Quickly, let's meet my guest so we can put this discussion on the road and be able to beat it into context for you. Incidentally, all of my guests, all three of them this morning, gentlemen, they are lawyers. But let me begin from my immediate left. Friday Ogera, Esquire, former member, Edo State House of Assembly, a politician, and apparently a lawyer as well. Thank you for coming to the program.
Thank you for having me.
And next to him is Chief Abayomi Thomas, a constitutional lawyer, the brilliant public affairs analyst. Thank you, Chief, for coming on the program as well.
Thank you. Good
and
morning.
Then to the other end is Barrister Matthias Obayuwana, legal practitioner, public affairs commentator. Thank you for coming on the program.
Thank you.
All right. Just so for those of us joining the program at this point, we're looking at 50 years after the Civil War, lessons for Nigeria and Nigerians to learn. I'm just going to come to Chief Abayomi Thomas quickly to walk us through, summarize history as to how we got to the Civil War in the first instance, because a lot of young people now won't have the slightest idea as to what exactly the Civil War meant for Nigeria and what it still means going forward.
Well, you said I should summarize. Sorry, I'll take you back to 1914. 1914, when Lord Lugard decided to amalgamate the Northern Protectorate, the Southern Protectorate, and the colony of Lagos, which were all independent entities of their own. And it was done because the British were short of staff, because mosquitoes were killing many of them. So it had also brought in indirect rule system. But when the Yorubas started agitating, when I say Yorubas, I'm talking of from Asaba, the western region, as was then known, started agitating for independence. The British didn't take it kindly. And it was then they started their own mathematics of geographical landmass in the north with paucity of population, ascribing to them the highest population through a non-existent census figure, and the west that had the highest population was given the second population, and the east, because of the small size of the geographical landmass, were given a very almost nothing. And from that point, the northern threats, they can always rule because we have the larger population. Then came 1957, when Chief Anthony Nauru moved the motion for independence. So this imbalance and the fake population census that the British or the English left for Nigerians resulted in the census figures of 1964 that was hotly contested, and the NPC, that was the governing party in Northern Nigeria, Northern People's Congress, had to fall into an alliance with Akintola, who was Action Group, and who later joined into NCNC and into alliance with MPC in the north. And there was constitutional crisis in the west. With this constitutional crisis in the west, the NPC-led government of Tafawa Balewa was planning to send troops, soldiers from the north, to take over the west. Meanwhile, emergency rule was declared, and we all was clamped into detention, and there was this plan to storm the west. That was what led to the coup of January 1966, mostly led by the Igbos, who said that we can't allow this to happen. Though you have more people in the army, we can't allow this to happen. But unfortunately, there was a counter coup in July of the same 1966. This time it was majority of Igbos who were slaughtered in the north. And with Ogundipe, who was next to Aguiyi having been killed, an Igbo man, and Okpara was not killed in the east. The premier, Ladoke Akintola, was killed in the west. The Ahmadu was killed in the north. So the northern threat that look, this coup was a pro-east coup. They didn't trust the easterners, they didn't trust anybody from Midwest, they didn't trust anybody from the west. So they started a counter coup in July. With the counter coup and the slaughter of thousands of easterners and westerners in the north, Ojukwu, who was a colonel at that time, was now made to be subservient to a Lieutenant Colonel, Yakubu Gowon. And he said, no, it can't happen. I'm a full colonel, we are Lieutenant Colonel. And with all that, and the imbalance in the structure, particularly the imbalance in the political structure of Nigeria, the fact that the West was far developed economically, and the East was developing scientifically and technologically, and good in commerce, the Northerners did not like the structure because it was a federation where each region was taking care of itself. Eventually, with the Catacomb of July and the Easterners could not stay in the North anymore. Just like we have found recently, people saying go away from the North. Then Ojukwu has to ask the Igbos to come back. And with the order to come back, and he declared Biafra, and the federal government decided to declare a police action, which led from the North with the intention of quelling the insurrection in the East with a police action. But they discovered the army in the East took part in resisting the Republic of Nigeria. Then they brought in the army. And that was how the Civil War started eventually, and it lasted 2 years and 6 months and ended in January, which we are celebrating today, the 50th anniversary of the end of the Civil War. So it lasted 2.5 years, and at the end, over 2 million Nigerians lost their lives.
This paints a very sad picture, but I've heard people, including those who were alive when all of this played out, say,
I was alive.
Yes, of course, obviously, say that Nigeria is a great country, not just because of its economic potential, but basically because not everybody survives a civil war like that and still be able to get to this point where we are today, even though we are not where we ought to be yet. But then again, the Civil War, 50 years down the line, has brought to the fore many of those issues that we dealt with as a country back in the day, some 50 years ago today. Barrister Friday Guerra here, I want you to help us make sense of some of those issues that we're still dealing with today, because some persons will say 50 years may have gone behind us, but there are many of those challenges we are still grappling with today as we did 50 years ago.
I will start by saying that it is regrettable that our country that went through that kind of international war where so many lives were lost doesn't seem, as we speak today, to have learned any lesson from it, because all of those fears and agitations that led to the war are still very much palpable today. The fear of the absence of a sense of belonging, that one is still very much pervading. People do not really believe that they are part and parcel of this country. No serious effort has been made to make Nigeria a country where people, by sheer persuasion, have that spirit of patriotism and nationalism. That has not been done. What do we have? We still have the resort to naked power of coercion, compelling people to assume that Nigeria really belongs to them, not by way of persuasion, not by way of policies that encourages patriotism and nationalism. If you still have to deal with what they call quota system and federal character that are meant perhaps to hold down merit and uplift mediocrity, which were one of the salient issues that provoked that civil war at that time. If you still have that, see today, you still ask people first where they are from, their state of origin, as against state of domicile.
But then again, what do we say to people who say things like federal character, things like the so-called zoning, for example? All right, they are just elements of expediency.
Well, you see, when you talk about zoning, you talk about federal character, you talk about quota system. What the point I'm making with those things is that if we have learned the right kind of lessons from from that civil war, we wouldn't be talking so much now about where a person is from.
Okay, so merit would have been the criteria.
The idea was, look at the mantra of that war on the side of the federal government. It says to keep Nigeria one is a task that must be done. Nigeria is not one where, of course, you have a Nigerian child from a particular region of Nigeria who has done well, who has excellently having the qualifier exam for admission into a federal institution, and yet that child is not admitted because of where he comes from, and a person from another region who did less, as it were, is not given a preference. So all of these things, touches on the very fabric of our sense of nationalism, because those were the things that gave rise to that civil war. Because Nigeria, as at that time, didn't see themselves as being carried along in the effort of a project to build a country. Don't forget that from the historical background that Chief A.B. Thomas gave, that yes, we seem to have this so-called Nigerianness, as it were, was sort of foisted on the indigenous communities that make up Nigeria, nationalities. It's sort of foisted by virtue of that amalgamation. And after that time, there would have been a serious need to sit down and discuss. If people are still calling for sovereign national conferences that have never heard it today, it tells you that we have not learned any lesson. Because Nigeria really, like somebody said in an article, is negotiable. We need to prove ourselves deserving and worthy of our sovereignty as a people, so that we do not carry on all of those lapses, all of those contradictions that we inherited from the so-called amalgamation. Because those were the things that led to the fears of marginalization. Those were the things that led to the fear of not feeling secure within the so-called entity. That is the kind of those things that led to fear of domination. So those were the things that provoked that war, and they are still with us today. You are also talking about the mismanagement of the democratic system that actually took over for the colonial masters. There was a mismanagement. There was a serious abuse of what you call today as federal might, which first of all, led to the truncation of that so-called exercise at that time. You talk about rigged elections. You talk about the fact that the central government, the federal government, is supposed to act as a balance, trying to influence and arrogate so much power to itself other than the one that is given to it by the constitution. So it was after that the crisis that man or the so-called democratic practice at that time, that regime at that time, the mismanagement of that democratic order by those who handle it, as we still have it today, that led to the first military coup. And that military coup by those originally who spearheaded what it is called in quote as a revolution, the Cardinal Zogus of this world, who perhaps from that coup speech that was rendered that morning, were talking about the need to build a strong, vibrant Nigeria, a country where you have leaders that are purposeful, a country where you have leaders that are patriotic, a country who put Nigeria first. But after the coup, and what was then the aftermath, the killing of some notable leaders, that was where ethnicity in the most monstrous form was read into the tensions of those revolutionaries as we want to have them.
Majors.
So the ethnicity was not ready to it. Oh, they killed so many people from a particular region as against their own region and all of that. By of course, like I said, that revolution in quote was betrayed by the assumption of a man by the way of power by a man who ordinarily did not have anything to do with the initial intentions of those who plotted the first coup. That's talking about Abu Irosi. He doesn't came in and collapsed Nigeria to a unitary system. Whereas there was still the hangover of the misfeeling that the fear that a particular set of people, talking about to be specific, the Igbos, are not trying to arrogate to themselves a hegemony and control of the entity now called Nigeria. That led to the Kantaku, where again there was now vengeance. In fact, it's more or less called historically as a revenge coup, because it happened 6 months after the first one. It was a revenge coup. And when you are talking about a revenge coup, you know, and it has ethnic correlation, it tells you about the fear that I mentioned before.
But you know, again, we can't have this conversation and not talk about ethnicity, religion, and a few other factors that tend to divide us rather than strengthen us. Yeah. I want to talk to Matthias quickly. A lot of persons would argue vehemently that Nigeria as an entity, as a country, lacks the core attributes of a federation. And then you also have those who would tell you we were not ripe enough, I mean ripe, quote and unquote, to have asked for independence when we did. That it was we got ahead of ourselves when we sought independence. Do you share those sentiments?
Well, I don't think it is correct to say that we don't like enough for independence. We observe the way the British, the Indian masters ruled.
Okay.
And it was a divide and rule system, kind of hostile approach. They had favored the Northerners, who, you know, the unity of the bloc believed that they were just easygoing. Whatever the British colonial masters wanted them to do is what they would easily yield to. So they felt that they were easy to manipulate than the other sector, the Easterners and the Southerners or the Westerners. So they were more comfortable with them. So that was why they used, they used the Northerners to slow down the pace of development. So in all of that, the things that really, those who, the purveyors of the ideas like Countrymen Now and all of that, to ensure that we have an independent Nigeria, that we can actually, you know, actually take off the ambition of this country in that manner that will suit, you know, the original intention of the settlers. Like you said, the Benin empires, the Yoruba empires, even the Borno empire, you were separate regions that existed.
Independent regions.
Yes,
okay.
That existed, you know, before we were forced together as one. So we still have that idea that was really ruled. At that time, even the Benin empire had, you know, a very well developed system of administration of governance. The judiciary, the legislature, you know, and all of that, we were very well in place. So at that time, we had a way of settling disputes without necessarily dragging on like we have in these days. You know, issues were being taken care of and everything were moving smoothly as of that time. So we believe that we still reenact that. But the British colonial masters used the Northerners, you know, to scatter that. Whatever it is that the intention that we had on the block did not succeed. Then corruption came into play, ethnicity, you know, came into play, and nepotism. So if you are from a particular region, you are trying to be one who could handle this affair better than others, and they will give you all the support. And then even those others were developing, like the Westerners, and developing more education than the Northerners. They could see like, yeah, noted now in the so-called quota system. You know, they will so let those who are still behind, and you hold on, let them come up. So if you score 50 in an exam for maybe 80 in an exam that could qualify you for an admission, they could rather give to somebody who scored 30. Okay, you that scored 80, your cutoff mark in that region maybe 75. So if you are 75, you can come in. The other side cutoff mark is 35. In the same exam, so if I have 35 or 40 or 50 in the West, I cannot get admission. If somebody has 25 below that in the North, admission will be given. So that imbalance was created, and Nigerians in the entire bloc were not happy about that. So, and that ethnicity is still much in place as we speak.
So we can categorically say, in a manner of speaking, that Nigeria has not healed from the impact of the Civil War.
Nigeria has not healed from that because it appears that it degenerated. If you look at the social imbalance, if you look at the manner, the approach of issues in this country, I will take for example now, where the Easterners were protesting, against marginalization.
You mean the IPOB?
Yes, the IPOB, calling for attention on all of that. They were mainly using flags. They had their so-called Biafran flags, in their protests. I never saw any armed ammunition or weapons with them all through the period. But the military might came up on them because of that.
But there were reports of violence amongst them. But let's not delve into IPOB. I'm going to come.
We are coming to that side. To create that, I'm going to paint that picture of the imbalance. While that was going on, the Federation were quick to declare them terrorist group. Now we have another ethnic group in the north, the Boko Haram, who insist that anything for Western education should not matter. They want to have their way, even though they are using Western materials to carry out their evil. And Nigerians have been what I've been calling that such a group should be declared terrorist group. That has still not been done as we speak. If you look at the operation Amotekun currently going on
in southwestern Nigeria,
all of them say that look, we cannot continue like this. Insecurity in the nation is alarming. Let us create a system where we can, protect ourselves, help ourselves. The Malami recently declared such an operation illegal. Whereas we have the joint military task force, they call them, in the north, where we have the civilian and the military, working together side by side to fight a terrorist group of Boko Haram still existing in the north that are going to be declared illegal. So if you look at this imbalance, so when anything happens in the south, the northerners want to view them. What are you trying to plan? All these things don't going to lead to something.
But then again, so
and then when it happens, in the north, everybody keeps quiet.
There's a fear that the Amotekun is going to evolve into a state police of sorts.
Let's look at the appointment. See, under the law,
yes,
the section 14 of the Constitution, the fundamental of the people of state policy, it is stated that security and welfare of the people shall be the primary focus of governance. So if you are in government, if you are a governor of a state, of course sovereignty resides in the people. So you are there because of us. And our welfare and security is a primary purpose. And the Nigerian police is not doing much. And we are saying, look, we can actually govern ourselves. We can use traditional means, use all means to drive away these marauders from our area and ensure that the area is safe. And they created Operation Amotekun. Of course, we know even as civilians, we are empowered under the law to arrest any criminal in our environment and hand them over to the police. So if the Amotekun, they are now be created to comb their areas, fed these criminals out of that area, arrest them, and then maybe ultimately hand them over to the police. You are not seeing them,
prosecution.
Exactly. You are not seeing them operate otherwise. They are just starting up now, creating that formation, and then you are now already afraid of that. This thing that they are doing, because that mutual distrust. I do not think that this thing means well. I don't know use this one to fortify themselves, but I will not come after them.
I'm going to come to you, but I know Chief Thomas is itching.
Why adopting what my left friends have said? I ask my own contribution, but let me add.
Okay.
What is the difference between Hisba, Ikano, and Amotekun in Southwest? Hisba is the police that was created out of Sharia law to deal with offenders under the Sharia law. Now the whole problem before the Civil War was about the imbalance in the structure of the Federation.
Okay.
While the West created the first television system in Africa under Obafemi Awolowo, the first stadium in Nigeria, the tallest building in Africa, free education, good and free medical care, free university education, good network of roads right from Asaba to Jiroko. The West was ahead in development. At that time, the was how to make people believe in one Nigeria. But anyway, Awolowo was not interested in going to the center at the federal level. I remember him saying, I have been given West to govern. I will govern West to the best of my ability. And the West was exporting cocoa, rubber. And when Midwest was created in 1963 through the Press side, Midwest also had a consul general in London to take care of our trade. We had fiscal federalism. So you did not have their granules, they had their cotton. But the discovery of oil in large quantities further pauperized Nigerians, created larger corruption, promoted more ethnicity. People like Kadaka Boro, Kensan Weaver died over oil. Because you now said oil belongs to the Federation. But when it was cotton and granite, you did not say it belongs to the Federation. It belongs to the North. Cocoa belonged to the Yorubas. And everybody was asked to develop at their pace. Remember I had said earlier on that in 1957 we now remove a motion which led to the Northerners walking out of the parliament that they are ready for independence. If they had been allowed to walk away at that point in time, then they can come back as when they are ready for independence. Then there would have been more respect among Nigerians. Like my little friend said, when you are dragging, it's like a tripod at that time. A pot with three legs. The North, the West, and the East, before the creation of Midwest. Everybody was allowed to grow at their own pace. But what we now find is that when Ironsi came, and he thought the problem was over federalism. He now wanted to centralize power, and he brought a unitary system of government. The Northerners were already afraid of the far development in the West, and that the Igbos were everywhere in commerce, trading, felt that, look, your compatriots have killed our people. You are now bringing unitary system. So you will now give us directive. All of us will follow military control. They stated that Kantaku, which led to the Civil War. Those characteristics of one, fear of domination, like we said earlier, the economic system, which was fiscal federalism, which became a unitary system where everybody will work and give to federal government. Federal government will not give you handouts. Is now working against the interest of Nigerians, where some people now believe that they have been born to rule. So whatever you say is irrelevant where they are. Until the messenger came in 1999, the plate number of Sokoto State was born to rule. So who is not born to rule? So these inequalities in the structure and inequalities in distribution of the wealth has led to more agitation in the East. For instance, I must tell you the 3 arrows, so that Nigerians can hear the 3 arrows. When the Civil War ended in January 1970, Gowa said, no victor, no vanquished. And he brought up the issue of the 3 arrows. What were the 3 arrows? Reconciliation, reconstruction, and rehabilitation. That is what the federal government is going to do in the East. Reconstruction, rehabilitation, and reconciliation. Since the war ended in 1970, tell me which federal government project that is of any significance and has been started in the East. Tell me any federal government position of authority that has been given to the Easterners. So where is the reconciliation? Where is the rehabilitation? You need to go to the East and see their landscape. God is everywhere. You pity them. You pity them. So it is as if the Civil War has not ended. It's as if the civil war is still being prosecuted. Mention how many Igbos are in the core ministries as ministers in Nigeria. It will also interest you to know that since Abuja was founded, since FCT was founded, no Sultana has been deemed fit or qualified to be minister of FCT. Why? And you say FCT is a unifying ground for all Nigerians, but no Sultana has ever been made a minister of FCT.
Okay, I want to look at something, two issues here. I'll give you a break now, Chief Ebi Thomas. Friday Gira here, let's look at two issues here. It's been over 100 years, well over 100 years since the amalgamation, which Chief Thomas yes, alluded to earlier. And then, of course, it's been, I mean, just a few months away from 60 years since independence. Have we done really badly in certain areas? Then, of course, we've had uninterrupted democracy for 20 years now. Some persons are saying, have bread, I mean, better than none. So does that hold now?
Well, let me tell you straight away that, like I did mention before, which I want to reiterate, it is highly painful, it is regrettable that the bloodletting that we witnessed during the Civil War, for which today marked the 50th anniversary, seem to have been blood wasted. Those children that were those Biafra children that were starved and malnourished to death, their innocent blood is still crying for reprieve, even as we speak today. Those unmarked graves of fallen soldiers, we seem to have not considered the very weighty sacrifice those blood, actually made for this country. Why do I say this? You are talking about democracy. It is either a democracy or it is not a democracy. There is nothing like half bread in a democracy.
So it has to be a full loaf.
It has to be the culture, the nuances, all the practices associated with democracy must be self-evident. You see, you cannot have a situation in a country whereby you say you are practicing democracy and today the votes of the ordinary man does not count. Those voters that took part on election day to cast vote, their vote doesn't count. You are now having court-made elected public officers because of the very imperfection, the very flawed processes that we call democracy in this country. I see it more as when courts are called upon. You want to take a record or statistics of litigation that are associated with election matters in this country. I see more as a weakness than a position of strength. So let us put the issue of democracy as a discussion for another day. But let me say this, that the civil war that was fought in Nigeria raises a question in a very thunderous manner, and that question is unfortunate that today that question has not been answered.
Which is?
The question is whether, as members of this so-called corporate entity called Nigeria, there are some second-class citizens and there are first-class citizens. And that question is still, because those were the questions. That was the fundamental question that was raised by that civil war that today, like I said, has remained unanswered.
And that
are there persons in this country
that was where they are born by Governor Wike when he was addressing about the the Southern traditionalists should stop accepting being
it's a very reference to the fact that there is a form of apartheid going on in this country. I made some reference before concerning this very unhealthy situation. When the second coup happened, what was the stance of Ojukwu? Ojukwu, for me today, it should be one of those persons that we should celebrate. I see Ojukwu more of an hero, a national hero, a freedom fighter than a rebel. Thank God by whatever political arrangement he has been said to have been pardoned and integrated into the system. But integrating Ojukwu alone is not to say that those people for whom Ojukwu stood as a leader, it is not to say they have been fully integrated.
Okay, let me just remind our viewers quickly that this is interactive on the show this morning. So we want you to lend your voice and weigh in on this conversation that I'm having with these three gentlemen on TMI. You see, it's an SMS only number, so you're not allowed to call in on that number. So just send your SMS to that number on the screen, and then we'll take your contribution as we make progress into the show. Okay, I'm going to come back to you shortly because I know you have a lot of points you want to establish. But let me talk to Matthias quickly. There have been calls for restructuring of Nigeria, I mean, the last few years. As a matter of fact, a committee was set up to that effect to ensure that we begin to explore the possibilities of having a restructured system. Even PDP presidential candidates in the 2019 election, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar, had also made a case for restructuring. But then again, that's the problem. A lot of persons will say it was a politically motivated move that he made with that one. So people are looking at the optics, basically, not really, they are not seeing the sincerity of intention with that. But essentially the question is, will restructuring in this context answer the question that Nigerians are asking?
Yes, it's really answer the question. It paid me so much that President Jonathan spent so much in convoking a national conference where eggheads in Nigeria came together to formulate the way forward. And the structuring was one of them. And the white paper, the report of that conference, as we speak today, has not been implemented. He stood a chance of having it implemented during his own time.
Yes.
I wonder why they always like the political way. I don't know what they are afraid of. They have put up together to convoke a national conference, and they have deliberated and they are suggested ways to restructure this country to make it better than it is today. And yet, you now lack courage of implementing that. I mean, a country where a particular regime want to continue with the program of the previous one.
So one government comes in and doesn't want to continue with what has started.
Exactly. So that
already.
That all that was put into that national conference, has gone into ruin, it's wasted. Nobody's talking about it anymore. Whereas that was a laudable idea. Nigeria is a federation, in print. In practice, are we a federation? Let's look at other federations like America, where they have state laws, where they have state police, where they have a state judiciary, wherever it is. So the kind of laws that operate in California, the kind of a police system that operates in California is not what operates in New York.
Right.
So they are all different. That is what a federation should be. We talk about every region developing at their own pace. If we have oil, we use oil to develop the area where oil is found. If we have gold, if you use gold to develop the area where gold is found. If you want to experience how oil is being exploited, you can always move to that particular region to learn about it. Allow the region to survive at their own pace in such a way that they cannot donate to the center, which will not only be administrative to ensure that the cohesion of the country is continued to be maintained. If we have that, I don't see the Igbos or the Easterners complaining because we have coal and all of that natural resources in the east that they will also develop. So we have others in the west that we all develop at our own pace. The idea of everybody trying to go to the center will not be there. Look at all the appointments being done. Nepotism at its height. If you remove any police officer from any high profile office, I bet you the person to be used to replace that office will be another. It has always been, and Mr. President has not missed where the border. He always told you that I'm putting the best hand. The best hands always from the north. We do not have some good hands in the south. We do not have some good hands in the east. So that has still not changed as we speak. So that is not federalism.
But then I think that's where the intricacy comes. That's where the intricacy comes in again, Matthias. Because a lot of persons will say the north is further divided into as it were, subzones. So you have the northwest, you have the northeast, for example. So they say when these appointments are being made, that's the factor that's put into consideration.
Sorry.
Yes.
If you look at the demography and look at the appointments of Mr. President since 2015, 75% of the Northerners who have been appointed are from just 2 states, Kano and Katsina. I stand to be corrected. 75% are his people, Kano and Katsina. And when funny enough, he went to the east to campaign, and he told them, he said, you did vote for me, I don't need to appoint you. Is that a federation? We don't have a federation. What we have, we don't have democracy. We have militocracy. Militocracy is a system of governance where you rule by military fiat. Otherwise, how can Malamiya say an ordinary attorney general?
No, you can't say it's an ordinary, because we understand
Excuse me, I am a lawyer. I know what I'm saying.
Because that is an office. That is an office.
For God's sake, let me finish. You will not know why I say ordinary. He is not a judge. He does not possess the constitutional powers.
But that doesn't make his office ordinary, does it?
Excuse me. He does not have the powers to declare Operation Moteco as illegal. All he can do is to approach a court.
But isn't that the approach is going to adopt eventually?
He has not done that. Yesterday he said clearly that they should disband Operation Moteco. Yesterday.
And this is not even the first time he's doing that.
And this is the first time.
Remember when the Kogi state election, was made inconclusive by reason of the death of leading contestant. It was the same Malami that came to say the man who didn't contest that election from the beginning could inherit the vote.
It votes. And that was how INEC follows suit. That was how INEC follows suit and declared Bello. And they did. And what I'm going to tell you is this. If you look at what is going on, look, let us be honest ourselves. We are not in a democracy but a militocracy.
But is that an evolutionary process?
It is not.
It is not.
It is backward process. Because you can't have democracy without rule of law.
Chifemi Thomas, I want you to redirect this energy to a different issue altogether. Patriotism. Someone mentioned patriotism a while ago. Can we have effective, value-adding, forward-looking leadership without patriotism?
Please. Let me tell you straight away.
Yes.
You don't expect Abayomi Thomas to be patriotic to Nigeria.
Why won't he?
Because the system does not encourage me to be patriotic to Nigeria. I am patriotic to Oduduwa, to Yoruba land, where I come from. The reason is simple. In America, where I have been to several times, you have America's United States of America, United States. That is a country that takes everybody from the whole world. They are able to mold them into a patriotic country where the country comes first, not where you come from. They take the good ones from Nigeria and return the bad ones to Nigeria. They take from Canada, they take from India, and mold them together. Because the structure, the system, allows the best to be recognized. And recently in Nigeria, I can't remember, a scientific feat in Nigeria made. They made him a citizen quickly. Now, in America, you will be surprised that almost every home you see, they have a flag of United States in front of the house, a small flag. They plant it. We are looking at it every day. I belong to this place. But the system where I'll give you a case, Bankole against Federal Ministry of Education, where somebody from my state, Ogun State, scored 84%. Thank you. Against Federal Ministry of Education. She scored 84%. She was not given admission into unitary schools. And they gave it to somebody who scored 34 in Sokoto State. The father went to court. What happened? If I tell you, I'm sorry, if I want to be a lawyer, I won't go to court. I will never go to court in Nigeria. Because we are not sure of justice. The father went to court. In the High Court of Lagos State, he won. And said, no, you cannot discriminate against anybody. He won. When they got the Court of Appeal, they put 2 Hausa men as to justices. Once after that, they came to one. The judges gave judgment according to their ethnicity. The case went to Supreme Court. They appointed 7, like they did yesterday. 4 of them from the north, 3 from the south. Judgment was along that line too, 4/3. So what do you want me to talk about patriotism when I cannot, and my children cannot aspire to become president or leader of this country because they are from Ogun State?
But this reference you just made, does it not also, as it were, put an indictment on the judiciary in this country?
No, you see, what I'm saying is this. Judiciary is part of Nigerian system.
Obviously.
Executive arm is part of Nigerian system. If the judiciary was scoring 90% in the past, under this present dispensation, where a Supreme Court justice would be arrested in his house at night, midnight, by hooded men, it has never happened in the history of Nigeria, not even before the Civil War. So how do you expect that same man who was haunted and you were here, you didn't protest, you didn't talk, you went out to dispense justice? Many of them were taken to court, disgraced like common criminals. One of them was removed, just like that, nobody talked. Then people started coming from the north. They said they were Fulani people, killing people in the south. Nobody talked. And you are talking of judiciary. What was the judiciary to do? Is it not in this country that 5 courts granted bail to Dasuki? Was he obeyed? Was it not in this country that Kanu was granted bail? Our president sat before the press and said, I will not release him. You don't talk like that under democracy. Because the rule of law is the bastion, the beacon of democracy.
Okay, Chief, thank you. Let me come to Friday Ogeya again now. A lot of reference is being made to a country like Rwanda every now and then, as far as the conversation is wired around Africa as a continent, right? Rwanda has seen its own fair share of setbacks and challenges as well. I mean, a country that lost, as reports will say, about 1 million human beings, all right, to genocide. And today that country has bounced back, or essentially is bouncing back, and that's happening very fast. That country is jump-starting developments across many fronts, all right? What exactly are countries like this doing? Even though we know a guy like President Paul Kagame has become a controversial figure in that country too, for whatever reasons. What exactly is a country like Rwanda doing that Nigeria probably can learn?
Okay. First, I will tell you that agreeing with you that Rwanda is a shining example of a country that has learned very good lesson from their own, what the world now commonly refer to as the genocide,
right?
The Rwanda genocide. They have learned a serious lesson. And today, one major thing that Nigeria can take away from that lesson, the progress being made in Rwanda, is to see the critical role that strong and purposeful leadership can bring to bear in an effort to drive nationalism and patriotism. Why do I say so? You know, my latest senior, Chief Ebitomo, talked about a 3-arrow declaration that was made by General Gowon immediately after the so-called cessation of hostility. Because what we have seen actually is cessation of hostility. The battle is actually still going on silently and crudely too. Now, Gowon said reconciliation, rehabilitation, and reconstruction. But how much commitment was put into it?
By the government.
It is the fact, of course, it is the government we are talking about. It is the fact that there has been a failure of commitment. There have been a failure of sincerity. There has been a failure of honest prosecution, going all out to ensure that people have a sense of belonging that is responsible for the continuing agitation that we are seeing in this country. You know, you can't take away the factor of leadership. You cannot take away the factor of leadership, and that is what Nigeria is lacking today, and that is what we have not been able to evolve. You know, sentiment, you know, is still taking the front seat in the affairs of this country. Parochialism is still taking the front seat in the administration of this country. So until we have a leadership that will divorce itself from those notions, those parochial sentiment and primordial sentiment that has sway. Let me tell you what they said, what Gowon was quoted as saying later after the coup that led to the murder of Erosin.
He was quoted as say, we thank God in an official speech. We thank God that power has returned to the north. You know, that is the sentiment that we see here today. You see how they had to thwart the process of unknown democratic processes to bring about where we find ourselves today. You are aware of the very notorious vote outcome in Kano that led to this leadership today. How in the vote that was said to have been over 2 million, there was no single incident of irregular vote or void vote. You know, all of those attempts are efforts being made to further subjugate, you know, people of this country, to further give the impression that, like, I continue to make reference to his very sound historical fast. You know, those that are born to rule. You know, this kind of excitement that the leadership of General Buhari, you know, generated among a particular set of people, is still telling you that so much is still given to the fact of where a person comes from, rather than what the person has to offer. So, as far as some people are concerned in this country, even if it is the worst of all persons, even if the most, perhaps, the most dark of all persons, provided it is from your own ethnic enclave, it doesn't matter. That was the why that civil war was fought. And that is what I'm saying, that we need to borrow a leaf from a country like Rwanda that is making progress. We have to talk about a leadership that is strong and purposeful, that has vision, that take Nigeria as a whole, as its constituency, because we squandered that very good fortune. We squandered it. Let me tell you this: a lot of these ethnic nationalities that make up Nigeria today, at independent, they actually had the right, like Santa Cameroon did, to opt out of this country. But the leaders who have foresight, you know, envision a Nigeria that is very big, heterogeneous, the strength in diversity. We have not been able to harness that goodwill and that vision.
Let's talk
because of parochialism, like I want to say again.
Let's talk about harnessing, for example. By this time, I want to talk to Matthias about it. A lot of persons believe that oil has become more of a distraction to Nigeria than it should be a blessing, really, because it has come to become public knowledge now that the fact that you have oil on your soil or in your soil does not necessarily make a country rich. Venezuela is one example, even though time will fail us to go into that right now. However, Nigeria is a country that has seen oil for at least 6 decades and counting. And today, we really can't put a finger on how much we have developed as a country on account of discovering this oil. Unlike a country like, the United Arab Emirates, for example, where you have about 6 Emirates coming together, you know, and you see that has become like a shining example across the world, where, attracting people from every country, regardless of where you come from, regardless of your background. How do we make oil a blessing going forward? Nigeria will still be a country anyway, with or without oil.
Well, I think it's still better to the nationalist
Okay.
and the corruption. Yes, we have made so much money from oil. At the time when they said that we have to make stuff more, they have to spend it. So busy paying salaries for other countries who don't give the civil service because of that. So they don't know how to plan what they have. They squander it. So the squandering is still continuing. We cannot even have good details of, the number of oil.
The barrels per day.
The barrel of oil.
So accountability is not guaranteed.
Yes, it's not guaranteed. So people are still taking this money and storing them in a foreign account here and there. For this country that developed the country with what the resources, and then it became a bane for development, because you take the oil from an oil producing country, you can pipe it underground to somewhere in the north, but you cannot pipe water to those areas where the oil is coming from, where they can have potable water. You can take oil away underground, somewhere else. And now we are a country that cannot even refine the oil. You take it away in crude, then you buy it back after it has been refined. So we are a country so blessed with so much natural resources. As it has been in the 70s, where we had cocoa and timber, all of that. These raw materials were exported. And people could not, manufacture chocolate from the cocoa. So you take cocoa in raw form, and cocoa farmers cannot enjoy chocolate. You take the rubber in raw form to go and refine, you cannot buy the tube. You take wood in raw form, you cannot even have a nice furniture. So the same thing now with oil. So I've really developed. So you take the same oil now in good form, you cannot even refine. It is not that Dangote is doing something about it, and they say that it's going private refinery. What is Nigeria as an entity doing about these resources? Where can we, if we are a true federalism, where can we not have this oil, the region from where this oil comes from, where can you not allow to develop using that resources at its own pace? Where can you also harness resources that you have in the north, gold and diamond, whatever it is, and also allow them to develop at their own pace? If only we allow a true federalism, that is where we can really enjoy it. Of course, there are still people in the southern region where this oil is coming from, and then they say, "Oh, we allocate so much resources to you because you are the area in the oil producing area. How much are you making? It's corruption. It's still eating deep. You people, you are still making the money. They give you so much, you cannot account for it. Yes, the corruption is pervasive from the top. If you start treating it from the top, all those people whose fingers have been, burnt, they were preferred public funds. You deal with them ruthlessly, not selectively. You deal with them ruthlessly. Those at the bottom rung, we learn from that and run away from it. So we find that people make wealth, we cannot even tell how you make the wealth, but they are being celebrated every day. So there must be a true federalism. The oil that we have should not be a cost, should not be a blessing. And Nigerians should not concentrate only on this oil and next other natural resources. It was often said here, it was a female around town who said that if Nigerians were to move to America, all Nigerians, our leaders, were to move to America, we will go there and mess the place up. And you see all Americans come to Nigeria with the resources that we have. Nigeria will become another Eldorado. Will start crying back want to come back to Nigeria
because of the difference in thinking patterns.
So our people should think right and learn not to steal from your own self. You steal from your own self. You go and take it foreign account out there. They use the money to invest in their place. You cannot even invest. You cannot talk about a good road, infrastructure, water, free education, and we have so much resources, so blessed. And we don't have any natural disasters. So I cannot understand why we are, the way we are. So our people should think right. They should restructure this country in a way that should allow every region to develop at their own pace. Allow people to drive their own system of governance and ensure that security is actually there. The welfare of the people is actually guaranteed by that constitution. So that constitution, which has been given to us by the military, right. They say we, the people of Nigeria, we never sat down to discuss this issue. So we are asking now that the people of Nigeria should be allowed the opportunity to discuss how we will live. That happened in national conference. They refused to implement the policies.
That was in 2014.
I encourage them to enforce rather than throw that thing away. Bring it back.
It's a good thing you made that reference. As if you read my mind, because I was coming to a constitutional lawyer now to talk about that. Senator Adeyeye, on the floor of the Senate a few years ago, had raised a copy of the Constitution, literally, and he said, this Constitution cannot give us development, this Constitution cannot give us peace, this Constitution cannot give us unity. I've had to raise this question a few times in the last 1 year with lawyers like yourselves. And one of the lawyers told me, even if our Constitution is not perfect, of course there's no perfect Constitution anywhere in the world, have we even implemented the Constitution as it is today? Let's not even talk about review.
That is another problem. Section 1 of the Constitution, or the preamble to Section 1,
yes,
says we Nigerians. And I ask, who? Abacha sat down with Professor Yadudu. They sat down and they wrote a constitution for Nigeria. Then, the constitution, which is the God norm, which is civil superior to the Holy Quran, Holy Bible, the constitution is superior in Nigeria. It's even telling lies against itself. Now, if we say, all right, we Nigerians, what about the provisions under Chapter 4? The fundamental foundation of government. Are they being implemented? When we say the governors of the states are chief security men of their states, and 6 states have come up, we don't want these herdsmen killing our people. They set up Operation Amoteku with the knowledge and approval of the IG, who approved that policemen should leave while those people who follow. Then a man came up yesterday and just said it's illegal. How do you think those people there will feel? You talk about Paul Kagame. What did Paul Kagame do differently as an African? He started dealing with his own Tutsi people who were corrupt started dealing with them. Rather than exporting, rather than importing agricultural produce, he started producing and manufacturing out of them. That is, you grow crops, you turn the crops into finished products. So the imports that Rwanda is doing today is far, far less than before the genocide. So they export, they make more money. When the balance of trade is in red, like in Nigeria, you can't progress. When your balance of trade is in surplus, which means your imports are less than your exports, Nigeria must progress. We have 4 refineries in Nigeria. Combined together, they can't produce 200 barrels of, they can't produce 200 barrels, 20,000 barrels of crude oil a day. Now, one man has been given foreign exchange at reduced rates and is building the largest refinery in Africa. What the federal government cannot do. Now, look, what happened to Proda? Because I was already in school when the Civil War ended in 1970. The Biafrans could not import weapons. They were blocked in Bonny, Port Harcourt from having any ship bringing weapons on them. And that was why the 3rd Marine Commando was set up to go into the marine and block the place so that the Biafrans cannot import. Out of necessity, the Biafrans were able to make Ogunigwe rockets. Ogunigwe. They were able to make oil from nothing. Science, technology, developed in that circumstance. Let me tell you the truth. Biafra progressed in that 2.5 years in science and technology, what Nigeria has not been able to do for 50 years now. They were able to manufacture cars. They were able to manufacture engines from the scrap of jets that came to bomb the airport. I remember very vividly that came to bomb the airport. They manufactured their plane. Now, all those science and technology that came out from Biafra, what do? Rather than we harnessing them to the development and glory of Nigeria, we destroyed them. We created a museum at Umuahia and somewhere, and said they are relics of the war. We did not develop anything. If you want, necessity is the mother of invention. If you want to develop, and you see those people, those scientists who did all those things, you bring them. Forget that they are Biafrans, forget that they are Igbos. Encourage them to do more. They will do more. But we let them off. The reconciliation we said we are doing, who is reconciling with who today? You tell us, oh, if we ask Biafra, let me ask you a very simple question. Why is it that nobody in Nigeria is considering what is the offense of the Igbos? Did the Igbos escort other tribes? Because we have 500 tribes in Nigeria. 500. Did they escort other tribes to this entity called Nigeria? Is the minister to tell you, is there any word that doesn't end? If you want the Biafran man to feel that he is a Nigerian, first of all, give him equal access to what other Nigerians have, which is in compliance with Section 42, Section 2 of the Constitution, that no Nigerian, 42, that says that no Nigerians shall be discriminated against, either because of tribe, place of origin, your sex, your religion, your political views. It is in the Constitution. Like you ask, are we ready implementing? What is there? These are some of the issues that you have to look at before you will tell Abayomi Thomas to become a patriotic Nigerian.
Okay. I think you made a salient point. I was going to just talk to Friday about the same issue of patriotism. But we can't do all of this without leadership, having the right leadership. This is a country where you have a 4-year election cycle. Yes. We have to move beyond that to bring about robust leadership structure in such a way that we can get this country beyond this point where it is now, don't you?
Yes. Well, yes, I agree with you once again. The leadership is critical to moving forward.
Yeah.
Strong leadership, vision, a leadership vision, and to again say that where in the formally as it were, the war seems to have ended. But I think, like I mentioned before, it's still raging on. It's still raging on. Now, the war is not even being fought in so many fronts. My brother spoke about resource oil and how it has been managed. Chief A.B. Thomas spoke about constitution making and the fact that we have not really had a legitimate constitution. But for me, I sum it up in this way. You see, there is a regime of subjugation that is going on in this place called Nigeria. And that subjugation is in different fronts. There is economic subjugation, there is political subjugation, there is legal subjugation, there is social subjugation, there is religious subjugation. So now, why the Igbos seem to have been the apparently is because of the fact that they had the infantry to cry out and to say, no, this is wrong. Let us do this thing by other means. When Ojukwu said, go on, hand over to the most senior military person.
Yes.
If you want us to discuss, hand over to the most senior military person. Let it be done on the basis of merit, not on the basis of primordial sentiment. Some of the things that led to that. So we need that kind of leadership. We don't want a leadership that will go and by way of state power, somebody who is there for the judicial use, equitable use of resources, like Kesarawa and his people, who were murdered by this system. You think that kind of inhumanity and injustice will be swept away by the mere apology that was later made after the man said, this oil belongs to us, it's in our soil. So we need a leader that will now see things beyond that selfish and clannish interest. We had a situation in this country, whether we like it or we must mention it, whereby, for instance, I think the feeling that a particular person from a particular place cannot work with certain other people was what led to the removal, the unceremonial removal of CJN. In this country, you also know that in this country today, even when we say, what is it called now, that English is the official language. Today, you have your Naira, inscriptions, Arabic inscription on it. You have things that are being done to kind of give a kind of a sense of superiority, the kind of thing that provoked the Second World War. So we are sitting on a time bomb. We must be ready to see that we need a leadership. Our brother Jonathan, President Jonathan, former President Jonathan, he tried to do the Constitutional Conference, because it was just a step towards the fact that we need to sit down and discuss this country.
Incidentally,
we need to sit down and discuss this country.
But Sabayuan already said that we have to go back to that document, dust it up, and
Do you know
go back to those items.
Do you know why you can't go back? Do you know why you can't go back?
Why can't you go back?
Okay, simple.
In 30 seconds.
Yes, when Jonathan established that national conference,
Right.
APC boycotted it. They boycotted the conference. Today, APC is in power. Are they going to implement Jonathan's document?
Okay, maybe we just have to keep our fingers crossed and see how that turns out.
And just to add, you see, when the last Senate, the last Senate, made some reforms, very fundamental and far-issue reform into our electoral system that will bring about
the one that was not assented to.
Election. The current president, the man who won a second term, our president Buhari, refused to accept.
Of course, he said
and today he's the one telling INEC, don't rig election for any party again.
He said because it was too close to election.
That will govern the electoral process. You refuse to
gentlemen,
out of fear.
Gentlemen, I think that's where we're going to leave this conversation at this point. I would love to thank especially these three gentlemen who had to make out time to be with us on the program this morning to help create context for this very timely and very important discussion. Three brilliant lawyers, Friday Gira Ichi, Baby Thomas, and Matthias Obayiwan. I want to thank you, gentlemen, especially for coming on the program, and enjoy the rest of your day.